Sense of being a businessman, I had to call it, and I'm capping it. This is a budget thing, and under the circumstances, what I had planned was to do a drop shadow, not a really drop shadow, a shadow on it all with the airbrush and some black, and just get in there a little bit. Excuse me, but in order for me to do that, okay, and put little gold dust, I would have to have a better setup for an airbrush, which means I can't be outside with the wind blowing. I have to have the right mixture of paint and the temperature. I have to have a smaller airbrush because the VL is great, but in the same sense, I would have to switch to a smaller one to get that because I don't want to go over there. Or I was thinking about masking it, but I don't feel like cutting all that out just to do that, even though it could look better. But once you start that process, it's uphill, because if I fuck one of these up by not holding the cover right, the mask right, it's going to change everything. And the way I did it, it's a one-shot, kind of conception deal. So that's another reason why I do not give a lot of specifics, because, I'll be honest with you, this is super cheap because there was politics preventing me from starting off doing this 3 years ago, and now I've made measures and make moves to get this stuff out, and with people that are paying me for it for what they could afford, and what I am, basically starting another portfolio, because I have portfolio pieces, I have locked up computers, but at the same token, it's always better to do something in the area, and then people can see you for real. Because I've been accused what do you go around taking pictures of people's signs and stuff and put them in a book and then calling your portfolio? I'm like, dude, what the fuck? So it created a complex, maybe, but at the same token, that's what's going on here with that. So, and for the original drawings and stuff too, it did vary a lot, but it doesn't matter. And for me to put those dots and stuff, the way the black's going, the way everything's going, I would have to do that within the process of the shading, because I thought of making it cavernous, and then those pieces would go there and there, but they would have to go in an order, and I would be doubling back with the black and the yellow again, because you couldn't do them first, because then they're too small to clean around and to manicure, so you have to save them for last sometimes, because that's how the composition works as well. So and also because it's a different kind of paint, it's just tractor paint basically, like Earl Schreiber Rust-Oleum shit. It's thicker and it dries different and it stays a little gummier in a sense, and with one shot you have to have reducer and all this fucking garbage and special stuff, or it doesn't work right, and then it chalks up. So this is best out of the can and stuff like that. So basically, to clear coat it, it's not going to happen either. And to clear coat the whole thing, and look, not to shoot any things, but look, okay, there's hardcore divots. So that's what I'm working with. And, honestly, this is a youngster, younger than me, a lot younger. So, for him to use this and me, instead of going to a vinyl and computer printout shit, it's a plus too, because I'm promoting the trade and showing something that they like and they can do and that interests them. And, it doesn't cost that much, so they're going to get it, and that's going to bring the experience. So with the clear coat and everything, I would just buy a Rust-Oleum, spray. But you have to test it, because I don't really know what he had on here as far as clear coat. It's slick. That paint will stay on there. But, I didn't go strip the whole thing of any kind of wax that was on there. Okay, so the clear coat, I would be very scary that it would orange peel and lift all that up. So the way this is right now, it'll just fade. If somebody took a pressure cleaner to it, it would probably 80% would come off right now. okay, there would be chips and globs left. Okay, now if they leave it like that, it'll fucking be there for 10 years and it'll just fade. And it could be touched up or repainted or whatever. If you put a clear coat, it could turn yellow, and then the edges of the clear coat could be a problem. Okay, but you could detail it, and then the detailer would know how to get that, but they would end up buffing the edges of it. So there is no way. And to do concourse work, you're going to have to go into the part where you have to have an environment that's dust free. You have to have temperature control. You have to have like lighting because it's photoreactive shit in it. The colors go with the light drying and stuff like that. It's just all kind of like that. And you have to have the water separator. You have to have a good compressor. You have to have a mixing station. You can't just be like slapping together 1 minute and doing that and then fucking with that kind of plywood crap on the same token, and fucking, hey, so it's like, really, it's a lot, but it's a little, and I make it easy. I found a way by watching other people and learning myself through trials and tribulations and going and getting jobs and having people tell me how to do it this and that way, and then deciding, okay, if I do these 5 things that I like and put them all as my way instead of somebody else's way, it's going to be easy. So that's I probably have like drawing was more than anything. Like, I drew that once or twice, but I made a mistake first, and I put gold digger. So, because I'm 52 years old. I've heard it all before, but in a sense, let me see, the drawing of it, and then the initial color. I mean, I probably got 2 hours in paint, maybe. An hour and a half in paint, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, maybe not even that in paint, because honestly, to draw it on there is quick once I had the design. That went quick. The first coat, boom. Second, third coat, kind of right there, so that's like a half hour. Okay, and then there's the airbrush part. That's like 15 minutes, really. So actually, with the preparation of paint, we could throw another 10 minutes in there, honestly. I had to clean it because I didn't clean it before, the airbrush. So, so there you got under an hour, about an hour for the painting. And then the outline, boom, the outline took 20 minutes. So yeah, an hour and a half to paint that. And, at the rate I'm getting, it's above minimum. I'm not making, less than 2 digits an hour. But, yeah, so for what it is, it's awesome. It could be worth 2 or 3 times as much, actually. Maybe even 4. But, see, my problem is I'm my own worst critic. So I get close and I see the stuff. And I did one line and then you have to recode it. That's another thing in a paint. And, if it was an expensive one and, like market rate on the high side, it would be 4 or 5 times as much as this is netting me. And that wouldn't exist. And I would take the time and I would do all that. Okay. And, if someone goes on the computer and does graphic design, they're going to have the same thing. And you pay. You pay before you even get the printout. And then sometimes they don't deduct that from the printout. So, the whole way of doing it and you get what you get is kind of cool because, every time you go and buy food, you don't know what you're going to get. You go on a date, you don't know what you're going to get. You get something to drink or go watch a movie or get in your car, you don't know what you're going to get. Whatever. So, why should you be totally affirmed for somebody like me to bust their ass and be a slave and have to go out of bounds? And I don't care that it's crooked because it's comical. It's bent. The gold is that heavy that it's just it's hot and heavy. It's melting and heavy and bending itself. And the whole thing is like, you got that there too. I'll pick this motherfucker apart, son of a bitch. Right there, and boom. Like, I have, that sucks, dude. Why the fuck would I want that crap in between when I'm listening to it? AI, it's man's intent to make it like that. Anyway, so it's like, I had 10 other ideas going here. And, there was another one that had the curls on it and stuff like that, and all that stuff. So, in the end, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'm satisfied with it. I feel good about it. I know it's a good enough quality that it's viable and it's competitive. Okay, and basically, as far as the price, it was like a family awesome deal. So I feel good that I get to give something, but at the end, this is just going for a portfolio, and I signed it very small. I'm not egotistical. So I'm hoping that I don't know. I get tired, so I want to make money somehow. It doesn't really matter. I could care less if I get somebody with $100,000 sweet card that wants to give me $1,000 to do something like this and do it right. I could care less at this point because I'm 52 fucking years old. I love what I do. I love the way this feels, but music gives me a better, more spontaneous thing because there's 20 reasons why I pick myself apart, even by the texture. And, other people wait to pick you apart. But with music, okay, all you got to do, okay, is pick up the next beat and tone and make it right. See the textures there? And then, people like you again. But for art, even if you're going to go over something or it's a pre-painting, somebody will come along and be like, oh, da-da, and the next thing you know, you're being dictated. You're fucking focused on things that you're not needing to focus. It's just a fucking mess. And to get to this point, to be able to do this, like I said, I've 52 years. In second grade, I had my artwork go into the school music curriculum for the holidays with some candles and candy canes and all that shit like that and holly. So, basically since I was in the second grade, about 6 years old, something like that, I've been drawing and doing stuff, and it feels good. And it's not intentional that's yellow. It just happens to be the tape. And yeah, I can fiberglass my finger, but yeah. So that's where it is. And at the end of the day, let me see. I'll focus on a picture. How about that? So that's a little different. That's linseed oil and stuff on there. Linseed oil and stuff. Like, this is old, man. That's probably fucking 30. That's 30 years. No, when CDs were still fresh, it was hard to, but it's all paint, and I put all them screws and wires and stuff in there. Those leather and stuff. So yeah, it's different. It was different, the same, different. And I carved this. It's like a termite. My hand and the drummer was like a termite eating there. And it looks like somebody, if it's cleaned up, it looks like a face. But the linseed oil gets like that. And that was a lot of fun. I could have been like in India carving and stuff like that, or anywhere. I love carving stuff. It's fun. And that's something too. I started carving that. But then it looked like a little person, because that was the refuse, the sprue. That's what I was going after. Okay, and then I'm like, you know what? I just kept going. So then I had to wire that in there and put that in that perspective. So, we got all that right there. And, so this painting, did I have a date on it? Let's see. Yeah, but it's fun. It was fun. And if there's ever a fallout or something, we got some wires right here, folks. That's what's up. And that gray was already on there. That's what kind of inspired me, because it just looked fucking good. I had gotten some new bits and I don't know, it was real awesome, dude. I was like in that, but now I don't have to be that. Now I can be Spaceman, because I conquered the world already. There's no date. And yeah, that's good for wiring too. You could use acrylic, fucking art, thick paint, latex vinyl for wiring as a thing. For stuff like that, maybe. Look at them little buddies. And hey, little buddy, yes, he's a good old little diode. Yes, he is. Ha ha! Look, it's multicultural and diversified. Whoa, somebody had an accent over there. Anyway, let's focus here, folks. Let's focus.